Hello again, children of all ages. Now, our next story is all about the princess and the pea. So now, why don't you all come with me and we shall see. Now, once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess, but she would have to be a real princess. He travelled all over the world to find one, but nowhere could he get what he wanted. Oh, poor thing. Like everyone should kowtow to what he wants. There were princesses enough, and plenty of old queens, no doubt. But it was difficult to decipher. Oh, that's just a word that means to be certain. You know, a bit like me, hard to tell, but valuable all the same. There was always something about them that was not as it should be. Oh, really? Being a little judgmental, aren't we? I mean, you ain't all that either, in your codpiece. So he came home again and was so terribly sad, for he would like very much to have a real princess. The ruling elite, they want everything handed to them on a plate. They think it's theirs just for the taking. Snatching, more like. But one evening, a terrible storm came. There was thunder and lightning, and rain poured down in torrents. Suddenly, knocking was heard at the palace gates. Let me in! Let me in! Actually, it was the biggest council house in the UK, where its tenant doesn't pay any of that illegal bedroom tax that they brought in to punish the poor for simply being poor on a spare 240 bedrooms in there. Say no more. The old king went to open it. It was a princess standing there in front of the palace gates, looking very distraught and absolutely drenched. In fact, the old king mistook her for Tom Daly off ITV's Splash. But good gracious, what a sight the wind and rain had made her look. She still looked a whole lot better than that Esther McVeigh, though. The water ran down her clothes, it ran down into the toes of her shoes and out at her heels. She should have had some guttering put around the bottom of her cape, really, but never mind, you can't tell these teenagers what to do, juvenile velocity being what it is. And yet, in spite of this pitiful state, she swore she was a real princess. Well, we'll soon find out, thought the old queen, but she said nothing, because you know those types of old queens can be very crafty and very scheming, so watch out for them. And went into the tax-free bedroom, took all the bedding off the bedstead, and laid a single pea on the bottom. Then she took 20 mattresses, 20, and laid them on the pea. Oh, all those mattresses. It must have been like sleeping on top of that Eric Pickles. And then 20 eider-down beds and laid them on top of all those mattresses. Well, the old queen didn't do it herself, did she? She got the servants to do all that. All on low wage, all of them having to claim in-work tax credits because they weren't even on a living wage at the palace. In fact, that old queen didn't even pay them in peas. She paid them in peanuts. And one of the poor servants was even overheard crying, "You know, my young teenage daughter said to me the other day, 'Oh, mother, 10 years ago we had Steve Jobs, Bob Hope and Johnny Cash. But today we have no Jobs, no Hope and no Cash. What's to become of us?' Anyhow, on top of this, the princess had to lie all night. Oh, she must have been sweating like an old sow. I hope one of the low-wage servants was considerate enough to open a window a little to allow a smidgen of air to circulate the no-bedroom tax bedroom. In the morning, she was asked by the old queen, 'How did you sleep, my dear?' 'Oh, very badly,' said the princess. 'I have scarcely closed my eyes all night. Heaven only knows what was in bed, but I was lying on something so hard. I was black and blue all over, plus I was having constant nightmares about a grotesque man that reminded me of Jabba the Hutt from the Star Wars movies. Oh, it was horrible. Now, though, they knew that this was a real, true princess because she had felt the pee right through the 20 mattresses and the 20 eiderdown beds. Nobody but a real princess could be as sensitive as that. So after the low-wage servants took it upon themselves, because the ruling elite are so sociopathic and are only concerned with their own injuries, and had soothed the princess's black and blue bruises with aloe vera gel, the prince took her for his wife, for he knew he had a real princess, and the pea was put into a museum just to remind everybody who isn't at the top exactly what they're worth. So I suppose the moral of this story is always try and be true to yourself, never pretend to be something you're not, even if it means sleeping on your own, and always try and help those in need. And never accept the nasty opinion of mean-spirited people who say it's all right for others to be left out in the freezing wet and cold. It isn't. Because if a fox can have a den, a dog a kennel, then a person is entitled to a safe roof over their head and a clean warm bed, plus a proper living wage, not just for the greedy rich that want to eat all the pies. After all, if we are to have a hierarchy, then they need to be the servants to the poor first, and having a human policy is the only way to live happily ever after. See you next time. Don't be mean now. Give with whatever you've got from wherever you are. Bye.